of you all for your time in supporting us in this movement. Because this today, after today, you will continue to hear us fight for the rights of people in all of diaspora across the nation. Correct? Are y'all with me? Yes. Yes. So I want to just share with you my heart and my thoughts on this. An indictment against engineer David Umahi, Minister of Works, and the Federal Minister of Works of Nigeria. The actions of this minister has revealed disturbing patterns and illegal demolition, abuse of power, bribery, and corruption, and manipulation in an all-around witch hunt. Wisdom is a leading real estate company that has made significant contributions to Nigeria's economy, 250 million in foreign direct investment. Our efforts align with your renewed hope and agenda, encouraging Nigerians in the diasporas to invest at home, well, back home as we would call it. Despite our compliance with our legal requirements, including obtaining the necessary certifications, which you all saw, and our approvals, we face unjust treatment at the hands of the Minister of Works. In the first quarter of 2024, we were shocked to learn that the minister, Umahi, had ordered an illegal diversion of the coastal road into our investment property, which you all have seen numerous what do you call it? We have shown our, due diligence of him demolition in our land and things like that. An action that defies the original alignment embarked by the administration. This is a blatant disgrace for the law, which we know they are not following the law at all. Selective demolition practices raises serious concerns about the integrity within the ministry, which David Umahi has no integrity or any character, may I add. Minister Umahi actions appear to be driven by personal agendas and corrupt dealings, as evidenced by credible reports of bribery linked to the Ocean Bay estate. It is alarming that those who have illegal upon the coastal road are spread it out, while law-abiding citizens such as ourselves are faced with this type of punishment. The Minister of Works is undermined and neglect. He has a very neglectful way of showing that he is not intelligent enough to be in this position.
Devil Umahi get sense to be a minister. And I think that will provoke him more. That gets him angry when you remind him of his, substandard kind of like a posture. It will remind you he's an engineer. Engineer to Moye, from Ebonyi, by the way. And let's leave Devil Umahi, Coastal Road, and all this Lagos Wahala. Take a look at what is cooking in the Labour Party last year, right? In the midst of their internal strives, right? In Labour Party, where Julius Abure organized a congress in which he was a candidate, put it that way. So, and then the OB, OT, and a few other elected Labour Party, public officials. So they gathered in Abure to select what they call the caretaker team that would then organize a congress or a convention, or they call them, to elect the executive of Labour Party. Abure defied all of that, organized not for himself in an hotel, and he actually got a court to rule that based on the constitution that says the court cannot dictate how a political party should operate or run its own affairs. So yeah, he got a judgment from the appeal court to say Abure is the authentic chairman of Labour Party until 2 days ago, when the Supreme Court of Nigeria ruled that Abure, or the Congress that produced Abure, was unconstitutional, something like that, right? Didn't follow due process, and therefore Abure should cease to be the chairman of Labour Party. But that is not how their controversial Supreme Court delivered the judgment. In fact, the way it delivered the judgment, right? It delivered it in a way, I mean, in a manner that makes it look like, okay, the process that is in contention, which is your Congress Abuna convention that you organized in an hotel, right? Somewhere in Owerri or so, right? That didn't follow due process. So if they say something didn't follow due process, so the result of that process is also null and void, right? Now they are in between whether the Supreme Court says Abure is still chairman or is not, Abure is removed or not. Now they are interpreting it or interpreting the judgment among themselves. So the Abure's guys, right? They had their own press conference. This is what they discussed.
Gentlemen of the press, you are welcome to this press conference by the Labour Party. We are grateful that you have come here. This address is about what transpired in the Supreme Court today. First of all, we want to thank our Supreme Court. They have always been there, standing as the bastion of hope and entrenching democracy in Nigeria. And we are happy about what they have done. What they have done simply today is to say that every member of a political party must respect the decision of the party. Every member must respect the party supremacy. That decisions about leadership are decisions that are purely the internal affairs of a political party. And once a party has taken a decision, everybody should respect that decision. When we went to the Federal High Court, we only went to the Federal High Court against INEC to say that INEC should continue to accord the Labour Party every privilege that a political party should enjoy as a registered political party in Nigeria. But a group calling themselves the caretaker committee said they wanted to join and began to canvass issues of the leadership of the party. The Supreme Court today has said that there is no place for that in our democracy. That everybody should respect party supremacy. Once the party has taken a decision, everybody should respect that. So the Supreme Court now said, because of the mischief of the caretaker committee in introducing leadership matters into that suit is struck at that court needed not to have made statements concerning the leadership of the political party. The court also went ahead and said that the Court of Appeal, having said that it did not have jurisdiction to address the matter because there are matters pertaining to the internal affairs of political party, that Court of Appeal should have stopped at that and shouldn't have gone ahead to pronounce on leadership. I want to make it very clear that the Court of Appeal judgment in Labour Party versus Ebishene and two others decided on 13th November 2024 is still standing, is subsisting, and it is still binding. That judgment has not been appealed against. That judgment said that the leadership of the party rests on the National Executive Committee led by Barrister Julius Abure. That judgment is still there. The Supreme Court today did not set aside that judgment. What the Supreme Court said was that the Court of Appeal, in the appeal filed by Nenadi, shouldn't have made any reference to anything concerning leadership. They should have just kept quiet. Since that court said it did not have jurisdiction, it should have not gone any further. But what we are saying is that what this means is that the leadership of this party is as it is and as it was before the filing of the suit at the trial court. And what is that position? The position is that this party has made a decision. Upon the expiration of the tenure, or even before that expiration of the tenure that commenced in 2019, the party organized a national convention where a new national executive committee of the party was elected. And that decision of the party, the Supreme Court has said today that that decision must be respected by every member of the party. That coming to court to argue about leadership should stop. That parties should learn to operate within the confines of their constitution, of the electoral act, and the constitution.
I'm coming. Wait till you get. Because there's this guy that claimed to be one of the lawyers, okay, for Nenandi Usman, the caretaker group put together by Oti, Obi, and others. Here you get. So they come back to you, sir, but no, we hear this guy's side.
Julius Abure, from my understanding of the judgment, ceases to be the national chairman of the party, having outlived his tenure under the party's constitution. And the party, it was also before the court that the party had established and appointed a caretaker committee in his place, so that the two lower courts had no business whatsoever going into the case filed before the two lower courts. And also the Supreme Court went ahead to make the point that political parties, on the need for political parties to be well guided by their constitution and guidelines, especially on the issue of tenure of officers. And that Julius Abure's tenure, he has outlived his tenure. So that is the purpose of the judgment. And that the issue of who determines leadership of a political party is entirely within the domestic realm of a political party, and not for the two lower courts to look at. So that is essentially what the Supreme Court did today.
I'm happy today that Labour Party has come to stay. This is a people's party. This is a party everybody believes in. I think this is quite resounding for democracy. It has brought back the belief at the instance and strength of the democratic system in Nigeria.
Julius Abure, from my understanding of the judgment,
the two parties are claiming that the judgment is on their own. So let's take a little bit of a review based on what you have heard so far. The fact that the Supreme Court says the internal operation or whatever of a political party is the responsibility of the political party. It is not the responsibility of the courts to help kind of like regulate how parties should operate. So, saying that Abure's tenure has ceased on this part is unclear to me, by the way. I'm trying to kind of like figure it out to say, okay, if Supreme Court says it is nobody's business, but it is Supreme Court's business again to decide on the process that produced, you know, their leadership or not, I'll let that guy continue, okay? In all, right, this is just so you know that the problems in even this Labour Party is not close to being over yet. They're far from it. So these guys insist, right, that there is no judgment that removes Abure. So let that guy continue.
Say one now, let me hear. Please, no distraction. We have started. We have started this meeting. Okay, come and stand here. There was nowhere they said that Julius Abure ceases to be the national chairman of Labour Party. And there is nowhere they say that the illegal National Caretaker Committee should take over the leadership of Labour Party. In fact, the illegal National Caretaker Committee was not mentioned anywhere throughout the proceedings in the court today. So for people to go out there and be rejoicing over nothing, I don't know where to situate that. And we find out that a lot of people are even crying because they were misinformed. And that is why we came out to put things in the right perspective. Thank you. So this day, I want to ask a question.
First of all, as for the first questions that you raised, there is nowhere. No, this court today never mentioned that Julius Abure's tenure expired. What the court said was that in political party administration, a person is elected for a term in office. And if that term expire, the person either bow out or seek re-election. That is pure and simple. It never mentioned Abure that the time of Abure has expired. He only talked about the constitution of every political party, prescribing the tenure of office of an elected officer. And if the tenure of office of an elected officer expires, that officer either steps aside or seeks re-election. That's in the context of what is happening in Labour Party today. Yes, the tenure created in 2019, extended for 1 year in 2023, elapsed in 2024. But before that effusion of time, a new national convention held and a new national executive committee, council, was elected. Some of the officers were re-elected, some new officers came in. So it is not true that the court said the tenure of Abure expired. Look at that judgment. If you have it, it never mentioned tenure of Abure expiring. It's a general advice to all political parties that officers are elected for a term in office. When that term expires, the person actually either bow out or seek re-election. And that is his position. Today in Labour Party, yes, the tenure created in 2019, extended for 1 year in 2023, elapsed in 2024, but before that expiration, a new convention held, and that convention created a 4-year tenure, and that 4-year tenure is still running. It is upon the effusion of time of that tenure that a new convention can hold. Now, as to the second question, the cross appeal was said to be of no moment because it was based on this issue of leadership. And the court said it did. Now, what the Supreme Court is telling all political parties is that resolve the issue of leadership internally. Resolve it, and everybody should respect that. Don't come to court to ask us for a pronouncement on the leadership of your party. Decide it on your own. That is what the Supreme Court has just said. So, and that is the reason why that cross appeal, emphasizing the leadership, was said to be of no moment.
So what should they do now? Adeza as a suggestion. The right thing to do after dancing, to the gallery and making a show of it and all that, everybody should now go back to the same Supreme Court and say, Supreme Court, what do you mean? Go. This, we don't understand this, your judgment too. Because another guy was on TV and said, for real, Abure is gone. Not.
Very well said, Charles. Interestingly, I would say this is an end of a season, in a long-standing, series of drama in the Nigerian political history. Specifically, this one I target Labour Party saga. But the Supreme Court has been able to close this chapter of Abure issue. Like it or not, for Abure, whether he likes it or not, he is no longer the chairman of Labour Party. And an opportunity has been presented to Labour Party to find a way to get themselves together, if at all they could, because they are infested with multidimensional issues as a political party, Charles.
But has an opportunity been offered? I mean, you heard the deputy national chairman there interpreting the Supreme Court ruling in a completely different way.
Yeah, why I say it's an opportunity is whatever we may say at this point, it is at the apex court, Charles. At this point, the best they can do is to go back to the Supreme Court to interpret what the Supreme Court says. It can't go beyond that. This is the last cycle Abure and his team has. And let us not forget, not long ago, the Supreme Court gave the same declaration with regards to the PDP issue, i.e., the internal party structure issue is purely an internal issue. And therefore, I don't see the Supreme Court giving Abure any leeway to that. But they have a bigger problem than Abure, like you rightly said. The internal party democracy has been an issue. Because in my view, Charles, even though they are the good politicians, in Nigeria, the political space is infested by what I call political gallivanters, political mercenaries, and political jobbers. And to that extent, this will continue happening until those people that should be the vanguards i.e. the political quote-unquote leaders in those parties, whether it is Excellency Peter Obi or Alhaji Atiku Abubakar and their likes, to be firm in, first of all, leading by example to entrench internal democracy. That may be the first step to having a proper political party that can even stand on its own, talk less of being an opposition. So yes, an opportunity has been presented to them as far as the Abure issue